Christian faith and fiction, inspirational reading suggestions, along with chats about the Christian faith. The following episode is an audio version of a video that I recorded for my YouTube channel, Christian Faith and Fiction. If you would like to watch the video rather than listen to the audio, you can do so by clicking the link in the show notes. Please do share your thoughts by commenting either on the video or on the relevant blog post, links in the show notes. Hi, it's Lou from Christian Faith and Fiction. We're going to take a look at some new books that are releasing in June 2024 that have been listed as Christian fiction. So, June is meant to be the beginning of summer, so when I'm filming this a bit early, it still feels like winter outside. It still feels pretty chilly. So I hope by the time this comes out that it's warmed up in the UK. So I have grouped these books into different genres, and I will go through them and just read out the descriptions for you. I have not read any of these books, so I can't tell you if the faith content is good, strong, mild, or whether there's anything that I might consider problematic in there. So just take that as a disclaimer, and you might need to do a bit of research or maybe look at the reviews if you want to know more about that. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see a bit better. I don't usually like to wear my glasses when I'm filming just because the light that I'm using tends to reflect in the lenses, which is annoying, but I do need to see. So in Mystery and Suspense, Hidden in the Night by Elizabeth Goddard is releasing on the 4th of June and is published by Revell, and this is Missing in Alaska, Book 3. At the behest of her ailing mother, former FBI special agent turned rare book collector Ivy Elliott arrives in Alaska to secure an unpublished Jack London manuscript kept secreted away for decades. But when she arrives, she learns the manuscript is gone, taken by the granddaughter of the woman who possessed it. Ivy sets off in pursuit, not just to save the manuscript, but to save the vulnerable girl who was previously trafficked and has no idea what she's getting herself into. Joining forces with Alaska State Trooper Nolan Long, Ivy must battle a blizzard, sabotage, and the worst of an Alaskan winter in the search as the search goes on. But every answer they find only raises more questions, and the danger to their lives and to the missing girl may only be the tip of the iceberg. One Last Chance by Susan May Warren releases on the 4th of June and is published by Revell, and this is Alaska Air 1 Book 2. Axel Mulligan was built to be a Coast Guard rescue swimmer. He swam fast and endured long, a miracle for those in peril, until a tragedy sent him home to Alaska. Now 3 years later, he's not going to let the past repeat itself. As an Air One rescue swimmer, he'll do anything to save lives, including sacrifice his own. He expects to do just that while trying to rescue a group of tourists from the icy waters of the Gulf of Alaska. But if not for the voice on the other end of the ham radio, he might have given up and let hypothermia win. That voice awakens something in his heart, and he sets out to find the woman it belongs to. Flynn Turnquist is not who Axel thinks she is. A national wildlife researcher, she's deep in the bush tracking wolf pack patterns. Or is she? In fact, she's a former cop tracking down a serial killer. She nearly had him until he escaped into the wilds of the Alaska bush. When Axel finds Flynn and discovers what she's really up to, it stirs up a terrible nightmare he's been dodging for years. The kidnapping and death of his own cousin. Worse, he's led the killer right to her doorstep. Now it's a race through Alaska to stay alive. When tragedy strikes again, he must choose between rescue or redemption. Colorado Mountain Kidnapping by Cate Nolan releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired Suspense. An infant in peril and nowhere to hide. A cryptic phone call sends Isabel Weaver running from armed intruders, with her daughter and best friend's baby under her care. Nowhere is safe and no one can be trusted, except former Army Ranger Adam Dalton. Together they must uncover a kidnapper's motives while protecting the children. But as danger tracks them through the mountains, can they outwit a criminal mastermind before they all lose their lives? Wilderness Witness Survival by Connie Queen releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired Suspense. Pursued in the wilderness, can they survive criminals and nature? A camping trip turns into a search and rescue mission when investigator Josie Hunt's adopted daughter goes missing. And as the only witness to her father's murder, 8-year-old Everly is the killer's next target. Now Josie has no choice but to accept help from her ex-boyfriend, wrongly accused fugitive Dane Haggerty, to stay alive. With threats closing in, can they outrun a killer who stopped at nothing to keep his crimes hidden? Suspicious Homicide by Elizabeth Goddard releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired Suspense. This is Honour Protection Specialists Book 4. The mountains are full of secrets. Uncovering them could be deadly. When Finley Wilbanks is run off a mountainside road, it confirms her worst fears. Her father was murdered. With her life hanging in the balance, she turns to bodyguard and investigator Kane Honor for protection. As they work together to solve the mystery behind her father's death, danger stalks with her every move, and keeping Finley alive long enough to find answers might be Kane's hardest mission yet. Crime Scene Secrets by Maggie K. Black releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired Suspense. This is Mountain Country K9 Unit Book 4. A wedding becomes a crime scene. Now a K9 team seeks a serial killer. After shots are fired at a rehearsal dinner, FBI agent Kyle West arrives just in time to chase the gunman away, but attacks persist. Could this be the Rocky Mountain Killer or a deadly copycat? Now Kyle and his K9 partner must team up with investigator Ophelia Clark to hunt down the shooter before this wedding party becomes a mass murder. Danger on the Peaks by Rebecca Hopewell releases on the 25th of June and it is published by Love Inspired Suspense. Targeted for elimination with no memory of why, when Ellie awakes alone in a cave with no memories, she knows she's in danger, especially when she's attacked. She flees into the path of widowed rancher Michael Tang, who offers his help. To recover her lost path, she and Michael retrace her steps, only it yields more questions than answers. Who's after her? What do they want? And can Michael keep her safe until they find the truth? Texas Ranch Cold Case by Virginia Vaughn releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired Suspense. This is Cowboy Protectors Book 4. Solving a decades-old crime will leave no place safe. 20 years after her mother vanished, Allie Fulton returns to Harmon Ranch, the last place she was seen, and barely makes it out alive. Someone doesn't want Allie digging up the truth. With the target on her back, she reluctantly accepts protection from Officer Tucker Harmon. Can he keep Allie alive and right his family's wrongs before she's silenced for good? In historical fiction, the Hudson Collection by Jocelyn Green releases on the 4th of June and is published by Bethany House. I think this is the second book in that series. Elsa Reisner's lifelong dream of working as an ornithologist at the American Museum of Natural History is fading as the job begins to drain her passion. But fate takes an unexpected turn when she is assigned to catalogue the bequest of a recently deceased patron whose Gothic country mansion holds secrets and treasures waiting to be discovered. As Elsa delves into her task, she forms an unlikely bond with the estate's delightful gardener and her daughter, as well as an architectural salvage dealer who still bears scars from the Great War. Together they embark on a thrilling treasure hunt for a missing relic intended to safeguard the servants' futures before the estate is sold. At the same time, Elsa's body seems to betray her with new symptoms from a childhood disease that isn't through with her yet. With the brooding veteran and her handsome colleague joining the search, Elsa must navigate the tangled web of secrets and hidden motives, along with the changing state of her health. As her deadline looms ever closer, will she be able to secure a new life for her friends before the estate slips from their grasp? Truth Be Told by Patricia Rayburn releases on the 11th of June and is published by Tyndale House, and this is Annalee Spain Mystery Book 3. Denver's newest detective, A Garden's Deadly Secrets. On a lovely June night in 1924, Amateur detective Annalee Spain is mingling bravely at a high-class political fundraiser in the lush backyard garden of famed political fixer Cooper Coates, one of the wealthiest men in Denver's black neighborhood of 5 Points. When Coates' young daughter discovers a pretty stranger dead in her father's garden shed, Annalee is thrust onto the baffling new case just as she's reeling from another recent discovery, a handwritten letter found buried in her own garden that reveals the identity of her mother. Not ready to face the truth about her hidden past, Annalee throws herself into solving the mystery of the young woman's demise. With the help of her pastor boyfriend Jack Blake, her orphaned buddy Eddie, and her trustworthy church friends, Annalee follows the clues to 3 seemingly disconnected settings: a travelling carnival set up downtown, a black civic club, and the prestigious white seminary on the outskirts of Denver. Intriguing advice also comes from a famous real-life Denver visitor, but is Annalee on the right track or just running in circles, fleeing from conflicts racing in her heart? In a taut, heart-gripping narrative driven by secrets, romance and lies, Annalee must unravel a case with higher stakes than she imagined, one where answers about a lovely woman's death point to truths and tensions still throbbing today. Born of Gilded Mountains by Amanda Dykes releases on the 18th of June and is published by Bethany House. When newcomer Mercy Windsor arrives in Mercy Peak in 1948, after a scandal shatters her gilded world as Hollywood's beloved leading lady, she is determined to forge a new life in obscurity in this time-forgotten Colorado haven. She purchases Wildwood, an abandoned estate with a haunting history, and begins to restore it to its former glory. But as she does, her every move tugs at the threads of that mountain's lore, unearthing what became of her long-lost pen pal, Rusty Bright, and the whereabouts of the infamous Galloping Goose engine No. 8, which vanished years ago along with the mailbag it contained, whose contents could change the course of countless lives, not to mention another fabled treasure that, if found, could right so many wrongs. Among the towering mountains that stand as silent witnesses, the ghosts of the past entangle with the courage of the present to find a place where healing, friendship, and hope can abide amid a world forever changed. Coal Black Lies by Cindy K. Sproles releases on the 18th of June and is published by Craigle Publications. Believing the bitter lies you tell yourself leaves little room for the sweetness of truth. Coal miner Joshua Morgan managed to do the impossible. He broke away from the stranglehold of the iron-fisted Barton family and the company store, to whom all the miners in the Appalachian Mountains are indebted. But it cost him the life of his young daughter, who was run down by a posse led by Thomas Barton while coming to collect Joshua's payment to the store. 5 years later, a sweet but slow-witted young girl lands on his doorstep, and Joshua's desire to protect her from the clutches of the Bartons increases his thirst for vengeance. Joshua sets out to discover where the girl came from in order to take down the Barton family once and for all. His journey leads him to the truth about the day his daughter died, a reality he finds hard to accept. But when confronted by Thomas Barton himself, Joshua is forced to rethink the dark lies brewing in his heart. If he broke away, could Thomas have also? Despite his misgivings, can Joshua join forces with a man he once despised to free the miners from the tyrannical Barton family and forge a future of peace for both the young girl and himself? Towards the Dawn by Mary Conneely releases on the 18th of June and is published by Bethany House. This is book 2 in the Western Light series. Despite trials that threaten their path forward, hope dawns for a future filled with love. Cate Wadsworth and Sebastian Jones never imagined their lives would entwine so closely. Forced to flee on a wagon train from a vengeful uncle and an unknown gunman, they live in a hidden canyon with the family that rescued them. But as the days turn into months, they each have separate reasons for wanting to move back to society, and the best way to be to the independence they desperately crave might be through a marriage of convenience. However, settling into their homestead in Cheyenne, Wyoming, reveals a different reality for Cate. Her new husband becomes consumed by his inventions, leaving her feeling lonely and isolated, and just when they think they've left the danger behind, a mysterious attacker lurks in the shadows, threatening the new life they've built. Together they must confront the perils from their past to forge a future with hope and the prospect of love. Rocky Mountain Journey by Misty M. Bella releases on the 18th of June and is published by Bethany House. This is Sisters of the Rockies, Book 3. Masquerading as a man, Faith Collins embarks on a perilous journey through the untamed wilderness of the Rocky Mountains in search of the pagan Blackfoot woman who once saved her father's life. She joins a group of trappers who may be able to lead her to the place the woman is hiding, but keeping Faith's identity a secret proves more difficult than she imagined. Grant Allen is searching for his younger brother, who was separated from him when their parents died many years ago. After receiving word that his brother went west to the Rockies, he unites with a group of trappers, hoping they can lead him to his brother's location. Soon Grant realizes there's a woman hiding among the men, and he's determined to find out who she is, what she's hiding, and how he can keep her safe in this country of wild animals and even wilder men. In contemporary romance, Her Plot to Play by Jenny Erlingson releases on the 18th of June and is published by Revell. Desperate for extra income after her mother's passing, Adan accepts a last-minute job as a makeup artist for a movie filming in her small Alabama hometown. She's working to save her parents' legacy and help her brother, but the money hardly seems worth having to face the actor who got her fired from her last job in Hollywood. John Pope has made his share of mistakes over the years, but after turning his life over to God and enduring a messy breakup, he's ready to start rebuilding his career. Imagine his surprise when the woman called in to cover for his usual makeup artist is a quiet but feisty newcomer on the set and definitely not a fan. Sparks of tension and could that be attraction fly between them, but Adan hates the spotlight and John's scheming manager has bigger plans for him than to end up with the humble makeup girl from the small town south. Can these star-crossed lovers find their way to happiness, or will the bright lights of Hollywood blind their eyes to what's right in front of them? The Beekeeper Next Door by Danielle Thorne releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired. Facing his fear could give him the family he's always wanted. Returning to his hometown to clean up his late parents' home, Professor Heath Underwood has no intention of making his stay permanent. Especially when he discovers his neighbour is a beekeeper, but avoiding widow Allie Hardin proves difficult when her 8-year-old son bonds with him and his dog. As Heath spends more time with them, his fear of bees and heartbreak could stand in the way of his happily ever after. The Cowboy's Marriage Bargain by Deborah Clack releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired. A cowboy with a struggling ranch, and she has the perfect solution. To pull his ranch out of a downward spiral, widowed cowboy Chase Cross will do anything, even if it means making a deal with a woman he can't stand, because Lexi Gardner's about to inherit a fortune, if she marries in 30 days. A marriage of convenience is the answer to both their problems, but when their bargain begins to feel real, will they put aside their differences for a future together? Training the Canine Companion by Jill Camara releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired. Man's Best Friend could be the key to a second chance. When rancher Cade Moulton decides to get a therapy dog for his ailing grandmother, he doesn't expect a fluffy Pomeranian or a pretty veterinarian trainer. But Cade will do anything to prove he's a changed man, even train the small canine alongside Mackenzie Howard. Soon the weekly sessions with Mackenzie have Cade wishing for more, but will he risk revealing his shameful past for a chance at acceptance? The Summer of Keeping Secrets by Jill Lynn releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired Trade. Recently widowed Marin Henderson considers time with her 2 adult children a gift, and she is intent on not prying into their lives while they're all together cleaning out her late parents' Colorado home. But from the start nothing goes as planned. Her free-spirited daughter Slade and her straight-laced son Reed both arrive ahead of schedule and no one is explaining why. Marin knows they're hiding issues in their personal lives, but she can only push so far because she too is keeping secrets. Setting aside family tensions, the 3 of them get to work purging the house, but when Slade discovers a decade-old newspaper clipping about a body found on the rocks below the house, questions arise. Marin insists the death was ruled an accident, but Slade's curiosity is piqued. When a roof leak compels Marin to call on an old friend and Flame for help, it's the catalyst for a wave of revelations. Between a daughter bent on distracting herself from her own career turmoil, a son desperate to hold on to his marriage, and a mother forced to confront her choices from that long-ago summer, pieces of the past and present begin to unravel. And before the summer is over, they each must decide what to hold on to and what to let go. The triplets' Summer Adventure by Laurel Blount releases on the 25th of June and is published by Love Inspired. His visit is temporary, but will they give him a reason to stay? Back home for the summer, adventure-seeking Nick Marshall thinks his park ranger gig will be easy, until the children's camp he's overseeing is left without a cook. Desperate to fill the position, he offers his high school nemesis, Cara Andrews, the job. As the two work together, Nick can't help but fall for the single mom and her triplet sons, but convincing her to take a chance on him might be Nick's toughest challenge yet. And finally, in fantasy and sci-fi, The Shadow Within by Karen Hancock releases on the 4th of June and is published by Enclave. This is a re-release in hardback of Book 2 of The Legends of the Guardian King. This is the description to Book 1 as they follow on sequentially. Abram has dedicated the last 8 years of his life to becoming worthy to touch and tend the sacred flames of Iden, and he expects to be blessed for his devotion and sacrifice. But on the eve of taking the vows that will irrevocably separate him from the life he was born to, as Abram Caledorn, 5th son of the king of Kiriath, he is betrayed by his spiritual mentor and sold into slavery by his brothers. Swept along by the winds of a new destiny, Abram is forced to compete as a gladiator. When the oppressed masses rally around his success, he discovers his suffering has moulded him into something greater than he ever thought possible, to serve a purpose he never imagined. Breath of Bones by Tricia Goyer and Nathan Goyer releases on the 18th of June and is published by Enclave, and this is book 1 of the Clockwork Chronicles. When darkness falls, a new guardian emerges. Katerina Dubova has always aspired to walk in her father's footsteps as a respected journalist, and the Second World War presents a unique opportunity for her to prove her worth to the world. A tip about an assassination attempt on a high-ranking Nazi official, Reinhard Heydrich, the Butcher of Prague, leads Katerina into the shadows of the Nazi occupation. Soon she discovers things are not as they seem. As intrigue unfurls, Katerina joins forces with Joseph Lau, a descendant of the famous Rabbi Lau, renowned for creating a mystical guardian in the form of a golem to protect the souls of the 16th century Jews in Prague. In the chaos of war, some believe that a new golem can once again bring help to those in need. Like flickering candles in the abyss, Katerina and Joseph work to protect the innocent and end the evil that plagues their world. Yet, in their quest to save the Jewish people, have they inadvertently created a new danger? Could the very entity they had forged to protect become their greatest enemy? So those are some books that I found that are listed as Christian fiction that are releasing in June. Let me know in the comments which of those books you think you're most likely to read in the future. I hope you're having a really great reading week, and until next time, I pray God bless you and your families. Bye! Thank you for listening to the Christian Faith and Fiction podcast. If you would like more information, you can click the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe on your podcast app to make sure you catch the next episode.